Back to Brian's Beat.
Alligator is a swinging navigator in the swamp. He's the greatest percolator when he really starts to romp. There's never been a greater operator in the swamp. See you later, alligator.
Hour 2 of Brian's Beat, Saturday morning. Chilly Saturday morning. Tree lighting ceremonies going on today in Dartmouth and in New Bedford, probably all over the area. If you're going to participate, let me know, 508-996-0500. During hour number 1, we did discuss how Cyber Monday, and my guess is same thing happened during Black Friday. I'm noticing with the cyber, because Cyber Monday, which is basically one day, this past Monday, is now extended. I can still buy my Cyber Monday stuff tomorrow, which is Sunday. I don't know that I'll take advantage of it, but that, whatever happened, you called it Cyber Monday, you called it Black Friday, and it was one day. The Black Friday sales started weeks before Black Friday. You saw the advertisements on TV. Same thing with Cyber Monday. And last week, I believe on the program, I mentioned that shoppers were going to be spending anywhere between $645 and $650 from the Friday after Thanksgiving to the Monday following the Thanksgiving. Well, if they're extending Cyber Monday and started Black Friday before, is that going to count as part of the $650? And the other thing that we brought up dealing with that is the fact that retailers jacked up the prices. And now when it comes to these great deals on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, they lower the price on the jacked up price. So what may have cost $45 before jumped up to $99, and now it's down to maybe $50 or maybe $43. Some deal. And I get the feeling, I could be wrong about this, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think the retailers are trying to play us. I think, they'll never know. They haven't been in the stores. We haven't seen people in here. That's why we're extending these Black Friday deals and these Cyber Monday deals, because they don't know. We want to give them ample time to do the shopping. Now, the other thing that you and I know, we do know this, that retailers like restaurants have been hit hard over the past couple of years. People not going into the restaurants to sit down and eat. They're doing takeout. Folks are shopping online. Hey, I raise my hand. I shop online when I can. So if we're doing that, we're not helping the store, and the store has employees. That's another thing to consider. Why are prices so high? Well, if minimum wage is going up, well, what do you expect the store owner, proprietor, whatever the proper term would be, what do you expect that person to do? They have to jack up the price. They have to remain competitive. And at the same time, they've got to pay their bills. They've got to take care of the braces on their kids' teeth. They got to make sure that the pet has dog food or cat food. These are things that we're all dealing with. We heard from a woman who got her Eversource bill. And you know what? Eversource is going up 20%. Whew. Well, this is it. You know, I like to think about folks who go out and buy a car. Never mind what you know me to drive or live in or anything like that. But many people go out and they buy a car. And they keep that car for an average 5 years. Now, I've been known to have them longer than 5 years, but I've also been known to have them for less than 5 years. So the average is about 5 years. But did you ever think about it? Did you ever calculate? Let's start from age 22. So you've been lucky enough to go to college and you've graduated college pretty much on time. You are 22 years old. If you buy a car every 5 years, whether it's used, pre-owned, or new, every 5 years, 22, 27, 32, 37, 42, 47, 52, 57, 62, 67. 10 cars. 10 cars that you're going to buy. That's just for you. That's not including maybe you've got a spouse. That's not including children that you might buy a car for. Did you ever look at it from the standpoint that how many cars do you think you've gone through in your lifetime? How many cars do you think you've gone through? And how much did you pay for each and every car? Did you buy that car cash out of pocket? Or did you buy it on some type of time? Whether it's you got a loan from the bank or financed it through the car company, whatever the case may be. That's money out of your pocket. It's a debt that has to be taken care of, because last thing you want to wake up on a Monday or Tuesday morning and you're getting ready to go to work and it's 28 degrees outside and all of a sudden there's no car there because you didn't pay the bill. Tis the season to be thinking about it. All right, 508-996-0500. Along the same lines, I was bringing it up during hour number one, the fact that colleges all around us, Bridgewater State, Bristol Community College, UMass Dartmouth, offering free tuition. Now, there are some caveats. At Bridgewater State, you have to be income eligible. Income eligible would be you or your family is earning less than $125,000. I think that probably fits the majority of folks in our backyard and probably the majority of people in Massachusetts. I don't know how many family incomes, median family income, that would mean median would be a half more, half less, fit into that category. 125,000. And I worry, and I think there's good reason to consider this. What happens when more of the millionaires move out of state? By the way, as I bring that up, New Hampshire has seen such an influx of people moving to its state. Why not? No income tax, no sales tax. People are flocking up to New Hampshire. Housing prices have gone from about $250,000 up to $4,250,000, that is. Why? Because more people coming up than homes. 25%. This is courtesy of the state of New Hampshire. 25% of the people coming to live in New Hampshire came from Massachusetts. Why do you think that is? Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that we are taxed to death in this state? Whether it's local taxes, whether it's state taxes. And now, and I would love to know how many of the folks escaping to New Hampshire qualify as those that would be paying into the millionaire tax. Of course, they could probably have a home up in New Hampshire, have a home down in Florida, have another one in California, and they'd get away from California. They didn't want to pay for all that mess. But the fact of the matter is, you've got more people leaving this state, whether they qualify as millionaires or not. What is going to happen when the millionaire's tax can't fund everybody and their brother going to college? Because here's what's going to happen. Mark my words on this. You're going to have folks complaining that you have to be income eligible to take advantage of this free tuition and fees at UMass Dartmouth, at Bridgewater State University, at all the community colleges. And there will be a smart lawyer who is going to take it to court, and it might get in front of the Supreme Judicial Court. And what do you think they're going to say? Do you think they're going to say, well, it's okay if only low-income people can go to school and start a riot? Or do you think they're going to say, well, Board of Higher Education, legislature, governor, you're going to have to make this available to all students in state that want to go to a state college or state university or a 2-year state college. Now you're going to have a whole bunch of people. What good is that degree going to be? And I'm not trying to take anything away from any student that is studious, wants to learn, shows up to class all the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the other part. We talked about this before, and I don't know why I didn't bring it up last time, but I'll bring it up this time. What about the students that try college out, but figure, well, you know what? This is just not my cup of tea. Well, certain taxpayers have paid a lot of money for somebody to stick their toe in the water and decide that it's either too hot for them or too cold for them. Is there any chargeback, any way to make that student, that family pay the money back to the Commonwealth, I guess, in this particular case? Because you know they're not going to give the money back to the millionaires. Then what? So we got a big problem here. And it comes courtesy of in this particular case, those involved with school funding and the legislature. Barry was talking about something yesterday, and I think this is, again, part of the problem that we have going on right now. And it deals with housing. I'm not sure if it was Grace Ferguson or Colin Hogan who did an article dealing with the problems of trying to do housing, in particular in the city of New Bedford, about all the different costs. Well, if you read the story carefully, it all points back to some type of government entity, government institution, how they have their fingers in the pie. And because they have their fingers in the pie, housing costs more. Now, this is New Bedford. For most people, New Bedford has been a relatively inexpensive place to live. But for New Bedford residents, it's becoming harder and harder to stay in the city of New Bedford. Rents are going up. Rents are skyrocketing. And if it's bad in New Bedford, what is it like in Dartmouth and Fairhaven and Acushnet, Mattapoisett, Westport, all over the place? The less expensive rent is still in the cities of New Bedford and Fall River. I could throw Taunton in there, but that's up there. But as I read the story, I couldn't help but notice why it has become hard to build and hard to find and hard to live in housing in the city of New Bedford. On a sunny November afternoon, Dwayne Jackson watched 7 years of work come to fruition. 7 years. That means a lot of red tape. You have to get permits. You have to get the Zoning Board of Appeals. You've got to get the planning. You got to get so many folks involved here. And every time that you get some structure of government involved, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say any of these people are bad people. But anytime you get any leg of government involved here, the price goes up because usually there's some type of filing fee. There's a delay fee. The cruise construction and some of these other companies, they have people that get paid. And if you're waiting 7 years, well, we talked a little while ago about the candy bar. If the candy bar is more expensive today than it was a couple of years ago, don't you think that candy bar is more expensive 2 years ago than it was 7 years ago? And it's the same for workers. You've got workers on staff. They've got to get paid. You might let a few daytime type workers go, but if you want to keep a staff of any size, especially if you have different projects coming up, if you're cruise construction, we're talking one of the bigger companies out there. Certainly one of the bigger minority companies here in the Commonwealth, if not the biggest. They've got people on staff, and they've got to pay them. And so that pay has gone up. The price of lumber has gone up, and widgets and all the different things that go into building, the cement for the foundation, all that stuff costs more money today than it did 2 years and certainly 7 years ago. So the Dwayne Jacksons of the world, they're in this business to make a little money. And so in order for them to make money so they can take care of their own mortgage, so they can put food on the table, so they can put braces on their kids' teeth and send their kid to a college that maybe isn't giving out free tuition because the Dwayne Jacksons of the world, they're making more than $125,000 a year. So they can't afford free tuition at Bridgewater State, free tuition at BCC, free tuition at UMass Dartmouth. So this is where we are. Government, once again, and they may be trying to do the very best for all concerned. But here's the problem. There is no solution to this particular problem. And as I asked you to mark my words before, I'm going to ask you to do it again. Because pretty soon, there is going to be a thing called SouthCoast Rail. Whether I like it or not, there's going to be a thing called SouthCoast Rail. And when that train comes down here, it might start in trickles, dribbles, drabs. But you're going to see more people from Boston and the greater Boston area. So read that as inside Route 128, looking to move down into this area. Around Franklin Park Zoo, they're going to be building a soccer stadium for a women's soccer team. People in that general vicinity are already reading the tea leaves. They know rents are going up. They know housing prices are going up. And so they're looking for someplace better to go. Now, here's the thing. Once word gets out about the fact that the New Bedford area is less expensive than the greater Boston area and has a lot of nice amenities, has a great ocean front, has some pretty decent restaurants, and many people are now working from home, where do you think they're going to go? Do you think they're going to go up to Gloucester, Cape Ann? Do you think they're going to go to Plymouth or Cape Cod? You think they're going to go out to Western Massachusetts? Well, some might go out to Western Massachusetts, but Western Massachusetts doesn't have an ocean. We do. And we've got a train that'll be starting soon. Where do you think they're going to go? Do you think that they're going to go from a place where you're lucky if you can buy a home for $750,000 up there to a place down here where you could probably get a home for $500,000 and get more home than you would get up in the city? So then, what do you expect? What do you expect the landlords to do? They've got people up in the city who are willing to pay $2,500, $3,000 for a two-bedroom. Why? Because it's still less money than they're paying up in the city of Boston. And so when you go, your lease has expired down here, and your landlord says, well, yeah, we can give you that two-bedroom for $3,500, and you're looking at sticker shock, and you're about to faint. Why do you think that is? And so I asked the question, what are you going to do about it? Welcome back, 508-996-0500. You know, I'm worried about the state of affairs. And I don't, this isn't one of those things folks can kick back and say, well, Donald Trump will fix it. Can't fix this. Probably doesn't want to fix anything that's really going on here in the Commonwealth. But be that as it may, think of the different reasons that housing has become so expensive. We can look at the obvious right there in front of your face. Interest rates. Interest rates have gone up. They're coming down now, but they're a lot higher now than they were, let's say, 3 years ago. So if you do construction, you are a builder, and you need money to go out. Companies go out and they seek funding for their project, and they pay with their profits the people that fund them. But interest rates have gone up. So, and in other words, if you are going to Bank of America or Citizens, New Bedford Credit Union, you name your bank funding source, well, their interest rates have more than doubled than what they were 3.5 years ago. So in order for you to pay the note, you have to jack up the rent. That's just one source right there. Monies come in a different fashion from your tax dollars. They call them subsidies. I call them your tax dollars. Local, state, the feds, they all have their fingers in the pie, and they all want something in return. usual some type of affordable housing. And what that usually means is the price of a 1 or 2 or studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom or studio apartment, the rent is going to be not market rate, but some type of subsidized rate. What does that mean? Well, if you are the landlord or the owner of the building, it means you can't charge as much for that unit, even though you had to pay the interest rates. You had to go out and get grant programs, and maybe you didn't write up those grants, so you had to pay somebody to write the grants. And then, of course, you had to get the permits. And after you get the permits and you start doing some work, there are the inspections, there are the plan reviews, all kinds of things going on. So this is costing you money, and yet state, local, and feds, they're saying, well, we need more affordable housing. Exactly. What does affordable mean? Affordable to one person isn't necessarily affordable to the next. But there's a formula. And if you ever notice, more and more people qualify each and every year for the formula. Now, one of the things that I left out that I think is important is the fact that here in our backyard and throughout the Commonwealth and probably throughout the country, we have wetlands, territory that's been set aside that you can't build on. There's a whole bunch of it in Dartmouth. There's a lot of it in Westport. And I'm sure if I were to check every city in town, I would find it all over the place. Here's something else. And, slap yourself in the face for this one. The Community Preservation Act. Oh, you like having walkable area, and so do I, and recreational area. Problem is, the more CPA land, the more CPA grants that go out, usually it's either going to be affordable housing or preserved housing or preserved land, which makes it harder for builders to go out and build and give you something more market rate, more affordable. So those are just a few of the things that make it more expensive. But if you want to point a finger, point it at governments, plural. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Hey, Brian.
Hey,
How
Brian.
you doing?
Brian is.
It's a compounded problem is what it is.
It's a what?
It's caused by the state and the federal.
What did you call it?
And this state's becoming very uncompetitive, and it's because of their politics. You got Mr. Wonderful, Brian O'Leary. He just left. He was living in Boston, and he got out of here. He said, you can't live here, you can't do business here. High taxes, high utilities. There's just a high cost of living here and the high taxes, and he left here. And then they want to force you to have an EV, and they want to take away your gas-powered stove. All of these things that these dumb Democrats, they just don't learn. And,
so wait a minute. Who's trying to take your pellet stove away from you?
Right. And,
right. Who's trying to take your stove?
The high national debt is a weak dollar. Is causing inflation. So the housing materials are going up. So this is all created by the Uniparty, a Republican and Democratic Party. And when they tell you affordable housing, translation, it's government-subsidized multi-unit complexes. They don't want you to own. The Democrats don't want you to own, especially here in the state, which is run by Democrats. They don't want you to have a single-family home, a private property. They want you to live in the multi-complex unit plantation. They want you to live on a plantation. They don't want you to have a job. They don't want you to be independent. They want you to be. Taken care of by big government. That's what the Democrats all about. Especially in our city, You know that, Brian.
I think what you're talking
subsidized
about,
housing and all the bennies.
I think what you're talking about is something that both parties are into. Maybe not the rank and file Republican on the city level, but when you get to the state level and certainly the federal level, of which you don't have too many on the state level and none on the federal level in the Commonwealth, they're all part of the same program.
I'll give you an example,
Give
Brian.
me an
Here in our
example.
city, you got Shane Burgo, right?
Yes.
They're probably going to make him the president of the city council. Now, this is a guy that wants to push government subsidized housing on one way that's driving up the cost of the rents. And then on the other side, he's telling you he wants rent control. So he's just an example of an individual. It's a government-created problem, and then he wants to put government limits. So they're creating all of these problems.
Well, you know what I would say. Why vote him in?
Well, he's already voted in, and
I
then
understand.
you got
I
the members of
understand
the
that.
city council.
But you know what?
Who are not dumb enough to believe that this guy is going to do a good job.
The next election,
they're going to vote for him.
The next election, the people of New Bedford should know better. Unless that's what they want. If that's what they want, then they might as well keep Shane Burgo in office.
What about the mayor? The mayor came on with Chris McCarthy, and he said his hands are tied. He can't find ways to limit the budget, cut the budget, and try to reduce taxes. He says he can't do it. His hands are tied. Imagine that. It's a lose-lose, and you keep the people in this city keep voting for the same people over and over again, and it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? I ask this question a lot. What are you going to do? Because you can see it. The writing is right there on the wall and on the glass. It's everywhere. And yet people still put up with it.
Right. You got the mayor. You got the Democrats.
I get that. I get that. We know that. We know that. The question is, stop. We get that. What the heck are you going to do about it?
We're going to leave. I'm thinking of leaving this city. I've had it. They're dealing with knuckleheads that all they want is more taxes, and the quality of living's going down, the crime's going up, and I'm sick of it. I'm getting out of here pretty soon. I'm thinking about it, Brian.
Well, I understand that, and here's what I fear. And believe me, I hear exactly what you're saying. But if you leave, do you own or do you rent?
I own.
Okay, so you're going to sell your house.
Yeah.
And you'll get a pretty penny for your house probably because you've had it for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had it for over 40 years.
Okay, so now imagine what the basis on something like that is going to be. But at any rate, you'll pocket some good money, and somebody else is going to move in. They're going to have to try to. They're going to have to try to afford the price that you're selling it at.
Yeah, it's just you can't live here no more. You know,
I get it.
Democrats that run the state, they're pushing people out of the state, and they're so dumb they can't figure it out. You know, Brian.
So I hear you. You know,
I just have to tell you what's on my mind. You know,
please,
this is really bothering me, Brian.
Don't think that they are dumb. Okay. Think of it as this is something that they realize that they're doing. They understand this. They have sat around in meetings. They have discussed the pros and the cons. And this is the direction whomever is pushing them in, and they're following the lead. Because when you talk about it, certainly on the city level, same with towns, but when you're talking about municipal leaders, they are the front line. They are the customer service representative to the people that elect them to hold the offices that they hold. And yet, time and time again, they come up with lines to make you think, oh, well, they can't do anything about it. State mandates. Oh, we got to pay for that all the time. They know better, and yet they keep on pushing forward with whomever's agenda.
Yeah, it's called government subsidies, and we have a budget for next year, fiscal year 2025, $500 million, and you got a mayor that keeps adding positions to City Hall so they can do less work and push less papers, and we're going to pay for it. He wants to have an administrator for the new police station that he wants to build, and you can't get federal and state funds. It's going to come out of the city, and we're going to pay more taxes. He don't care.
Yep. And not only that,
he's going to have
you're going to have to pay
Parachute's going to have a big pension when he leaves.
Of course he is.
We're going to be holding the bag. He don't give a crap.
I got you, man. I got you loud and clear on that. Thank you.
All right, Brian. Thank you for letting me vent. You have a good day.
I'm glad you got it off your chest. I really am, because he is a dime a dozen, not only in the city of New Bedford. It's happening like that in Fall River, and it's happening in the hamlets, the Mattapoisets, the Acushnets, the Rochesters, Fairhaven, Dartmouth. It's happening all around. Let's hear from you, 508-996-0500. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Brian is.
Yeah, so I kind of chime in on how a lot of the property owners in New Bedford. So me and my dad have been in pretty much the city for now going over 30 years. So we've had our little business, we had our garage, we have our house. So we've paid a decent amount of taxes. So our taxes for a little garage on County Street in the South End went from, in the last 3 years, from about $4,000 to $5,000 to almost $8,000 in 3 years. That's
for
how much,
a garage?
because, quote unquote, for a garage that's quote unquote a warehouse. But just because we had a sign that says the business name, they zoned it business, and it jumped double. Now the insurance part of it just started jumping up the last year or two. So we were paying $4,800 for the house and the garage combined. My insurance company, which I actually had to seek a lawyer because of this. Mind you, I was talking to this insurance agent every single day for almost 3 weeks. She let it lapse. It went under the Massachusetts underwriters. So my insurance jumped up from $4,800 a year to $9,000 a year. So they let literally your insurance lapse. So it goes under the underwriters. So you have to have insurance. And once it goes under the underwriters, you're pretty much like you did something wrong. You let your insurance lapse. So now you got to pay the maximum. You got to pay the maximum price. So literally, it took me a month and a half of not having no insurance on my house, but I got it back down to almost $5,500. That's a substantial amount. And the problem is people don't know that, and they will just keep paying that high rate because they're afraid to have no insurance. You know what I mean? And by the time you fight it, there's nothing you can do. So my father isn't to the point that, I'm going to sell everything, sell the house, sell the garage. But you sell the house and the garage. He bought this house, you're looking 30 years ago, cheap money. He's going to end up getting nailed on taxes. You're going to get capital gains. So you sell for $1 million, you're going to be lucky to walk away with $600,000-700,000. $300,000 will go right to the government. So it's like they got us against a wall here. Like, we really can't do nothing about it. And it's like you said, it's the elected officials. If people don't come together and start voting these people out and voting people and if you don't have nobody there, then don't vote for them, honestly. It comes down to that. And people just vote to vote, and they don't see that it does more damage than anything. And we have more power than we understand. And if people don't come together for the right things instead of the bad things, we are never going to get ahead of this. We really are never going to get ahead of this, Brian.
Let me, can I ask a question here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this property, is the property in a person's name?
Yes. So it's actually pretty much the house and the garage. So I have a 3-family house, and then I have a garage that is 38 by 32. But it's just literally, it's just storage. That's all it is. We've had a construction business father's been in business 39 years. It's just storage. It's under his name. That's it, his name. And
so, okay, hold on.
Yep, I'm sorry. Yep, go ahead.
So is it possible, and I would talk to an attorney about this. I'm giving you stuff that I've heard before, but I'm not going to try to do X's and O's.
Yep.
Talk to an attorney and see if you can put that property in a trust. And instead of selling the house, sell the trust.
Oh, I've heard something about pretty much what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because I think,
that might be your way around some of this, not all of it. Look, there are no solutions. There are trade-offs.
Yes.
So I would try to look for the best trade-off that you can get. But talk to an attorney. There are plenty of great real estate attorneys in the city of New Bedford and the surrounding community.
That's actually what I got to start looking forward now, which that's one good thing. We do have good attorneys in New Bedford.
We do.
Oh, man. All right, Brian, I appreciate you letting me chime in, but you have a good rest of your weekend, my friend. I appreciate
you too.
Yourself.
Thank you. 508-996-0500 to get onto the program today. Yeah, we play this game like it's checkers. I know you've heard me say this before, but the folks that the yous and me's are dealing with, they're playing chess. And they get paid, many of them do anyway, get paid to play this game. You're doing it on the side. So I don't mind throwing out a couple of tips that I've heard from some wise people before. But it's worth exploring because I hear the frustration. The caller before, who is right about everybody that he wants to blame. But after you do all the blaming, eventually you got to put your feet on the ground and you have to say, what am I going to do about this before they just strangle me with taxes? This other guy here, a garage, glorified garage and house. And the prices have gone up so much, people would like to move, but they don't want to go broke. So it's a thought. If you are feeling stuck that maybe the basis has changed in that maybe you're no longer a couple where you would get twice as much value on the selling of a property, then you might want, and you probably should have that property in some type of trust or entity. Which one would be best for you? Talk to an attorney about it. They would know hell better than me. 508-996-0500. That's how you get onto Brian's beat today. Yeah, it's called Brian and watching Ken try to get the computer up and going. Oh, my goodness. So how are you, my man?
Me?
Yeah, no, Sam.
I don't know if you
Sam the check man.
I'm all right. A little back injury.
What happened to your back? You got a weak back?
I have an old wrestling injury that finally blew out.
You shouldn't be wrestling at this age.
No, this is 39 years old.
Oh, yeah. So last week you were wrestling.
No.
You said 39?
39 years ago.
Oh, 39 years ago. I get it. So what's planned on your show today?
Oh, we'll talk about his word is a Biden.
Oh, come on. So, I didn't get into the one that I was really going to talk about dealing with that. I'm not surprised that he pardoned his son. Chances are I would have done the same thing. But here's one. On his list of people to be pardoned, Dr. Fauci.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
In case somebody decides to go after Dr. Fauci. Now, who could that be? Couldn't be RFK Jr. Couldn't be Donald Trump.
Well, there was a lot wrong done.
I know, but imagine. But look, every administration does it. There's always going to be some question mark. And Hunter Biden would be one. But Hunter doesn't surprise me. But Dr. Fauci, I'm sorry.
He does look like a mad scientist. You got to give him
I'm not going to go down that particular. Yeah, I agree with Ken on that. I'm not going to go down that particular road. But let's face it. There are a lot of things that he could be brought up on